Hello everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to the first edition of the Marketplace for the year 2024. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Coming up, National Insurance Commission to sanction firms that fail to abide by new tariffs for third-party premiums will take effect today. Also coming up, interest rates fell marginally on the Treasury market as government recorded marginal oversubscription of the Treasury Bills. We have details coming up. Plus, traders indicate preparedness to pass on cost of new taxes to consumers if government starts enforcing them.
If it kicks in and the cost build-up goes up, you're going to pass it on to us?
Definitely. Business people
yeah,
are
not for the
Christmas, and we based everything on the cost.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for joining us. Details coming up. And first up, the National Insurance Commission has indicated it will sanction any insurance company that fails to abide by approved tariffs for third-party premiums. This is coming after the Commission, in collaboration with the National Insurance Association, increased third-party premiums beginning today. George Jaffe has more.
The insurance companies are today going ahead to adjust tariffs for the various types of third-party products after they secured approval from the industry regulator, that is, the National Insurance Commission. Based on the approved rates, individuals using private cars are expected to pay 482 Ghana cedis, up from the previous price of 468 Ghana cedis. Commercial vehicle owners, especially when it comes to taxis, will now pay 437 Ghana cedis. Hiring cars will pay 652 Ghana cedis. Owners of motorcycles are expected to pay 252 Ghana cedis. The insurance companies have told Joy Business that they took this action to ensure that they are in the good financial position so they can pay genuine claims on time. The National Insurance Commission has also told Joy Business that as a regulator, they will work to ensure that all the insurance companies comply with these tariffs because they want to protect every policyholder. Joy Business understands that an insurance company could be fined as much as 60,000 Ghana cedis for failing to stick with these approved rates by the National Insurance Commission.
Well, the increment did not factor in the 21.9% value-added tax on non-life insurance products, which would have resulted in motor insurance going up by more than 30%. This follows communication from the Ghana Revenue Authority that the implementation of the 5 tax bills passed by Parliament will not take effect today, as earlier reported, but we are definitely going to see it take effect sometime in the year. Joining us on Zoom is Kwawu, who is Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, to discuss these new tax measures. Good afternoon to you. Happy New Year, sir. We know we are in a hard place as a country and we need some money. But is there really justification for these new taxes?
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to listeners and viewers. When you look at what we are facing as a country, we may say that there may be some form of justification for the increase in the insurance tariffs and other taxes that we are getting. We can only look at the margin of increment that we're talking about. When the insurance was first announced, we were looking at a margin of about 30%. That is on a higher side. And that's tax, when paid by the motorists, they are going to factor it into the transportation fees, and that will go a long way to affect businesses that are running. Prices of commodities might even go up. The larger tariffs that we have seen as announced in the budget statement last November may bring some form of hardship to the business community and to the individuals as a whole, in the sense that government will be able to rake in some revenue, but at the end of the day, the citizens are going to be at the receiving end. looking at the situation where we do not see proper utilization of our tax revenues, then we ask ourselves whether this is also going to be the story that we've been hearing over time. But as you have heard the industry players saying, when the taxes are implemented, government is going to rake in more revenue, but the businessmen and women are going to push these taxes to the final consumer. And that will raise the prices of items we have in the market. And once the prices go up in the market, we see the rate of inflation going down. And it will become a merry-go-round as we look at it.
Well, we talk a lot about widening the tax net. I mean, was this the best approach? Could there have been other alternatives?
Looking at our economy where we have a lot of informal sector, widening the tax net will be the use of digitalization, where the introduction of the e-levy is a way to make sure that everybody finds him or herself paying taxes. But then the law that brought about the e-levy have a lot of loopholes, which will force a lot of people to evade or avoid the payment of taxes that we have. If I don't want to pay the taxes, I can decide to use cash to do my transactions. I can decide to go to a vendor that is a merchant person to withdraw my money. I can decide to go to the bank and do the transactions because these are not part of the e-levy charges. And so if we want to make the tax net widen and for everybody to pay, then we have to reduce the e-levy charges from 1% now to somewhere around 0.5 and reduce the threshold that we pay on it so that everybody will be able to pay the tax. In that case, people will pay the money without feeling it, and that would be a good way to go. But as we speak, if we do not do that, then there will always be avenues where people can avoid tax, and tax avoidance is not a crime. And so we need to have a second look at the e-levy so that we can bring in a lot more people rather than taxing the few things that we have. Even if you look at the taxes that have been given in terms of the taxes on sanitary pads, we also have to find out whether when that is implemented, it's going to reflect in the prices of the items that they produce on the market. Not a situation where the producers or manufacturers will now come and tell us that the exchange rate is affecting, the fuel prices are affecting, and for that matter, they cannot be able to reduce the prices that we have on the market. We have the emission tax that, when it is also implemented, will bring revenue to the consuming public, but that emission tax is just a formulation or another way of bringing the luxury vehicle tax that we have seen in the past where we have kicked against it. So we want to know how they're going to use that money, because once we have signed onto the global economy, there will be some amount of money that is coming to fight the global emissions that we find. It is not only the vehicles that pollute the environment. There are other people who also pollute the environment. So the industry players are also going to be taxed on that. Now, there are some industries that are taking steps in ensuring that they protect the environment. They are using clean energy. Is there any loophole, any opportunity for them to not pay these taxes so that will encourage a lot of companies to go into the use of clean energy in whatever that they are doing, since they are not going to cause a lot of pollution in the system? The bottom line is that taxes will be effective when they are properly communicated and when the citizens see that the taxes they pay are being utilized properly. But if the citizens are not seeing the utilization of the taxes, we have bad roads, we have water not flowing, and we are paying more tariffs of water. Security situation is not too good, and prices of commodities are always high. And we continue to import items rather than promoting policies that will encourage domestic production and consumption of items, people will not be able to pay the taxes. But if I know that I go to the hospital and I get the best services that I want, I get a public transport that is more efficient and good, the road network is very well, my children go to school, and the school system is functioning properly, and I don't have to pay any extra cost. There, when you tax me, I won't fail it. I'll be able to pay those taxes I want to pay. Why is it that government is not raking in enough revenue from property tax? They are not doing that because when the people are doing the construction, there is no help. You want electricity, you want water, you want good road network to the places. You have to do all these things yourself. After you have finished developing the area, government comes in and says you should pay property tax. People are going to feel reluctant in doing that. But if these things are provided for the citizens, paying tax will not be a problem at all. And we need proper education on these things so that it sinks down everybody, because government can only work through the taxes that we pay and exports earnings that we make.
I mean, earlier you were talking about what the impact will be on individuals and businesses, but how is this going to help the economy if the taxpayers are overstretched?
That is where I said that it becomes a zero-sum game, because the individuals are going to be stretched, they pay the taxes, and they don't see the use of those taxes. And then you are going to create the avenue for people to avoid the payment of taxes. And so, yes, government wants to rake in enough revenue, but we must also make sure that we safeguard the taxes that we collect so that it will be okay for us. We've heard the situation where government tells us that the only way out is not taxation. We need to do a lot of production. But we have not been seeing that particular production going on. We have been caught up by the Dutch disease, where we concentrate on new minerals and resources that we find at the neglect of agricultural sector. And once the agri sector is not performing very well, we do not mechanize our agricultural sector. That's a long way to affect the manufacturing sector. Hence, we have the service sector leading the path now. So we need to go back and look at all these things, my brother.
All right. In other news, we are awaiting a January 11 date for an IMF board meeting on Ghana's second tranche bailout package, but that is dependent on a deal with bilateral creditors. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, so last year, when we could not get the deal in November, and then December, it couldn't happen, I predicted that we would have the deal going through if we do what the IMF is expecting us to do by the close of the first quarter of this year. If we are expecting that it will happen in January, I'm sorry, I do not have enough details, but looking at what has happened over the period, we should be prudent when we are trying to forecast. Latest at the end of the quarter, that will be in March, we should expect this money
in March, you said?
Yes, in March. Latest. If it comes earlier, it's good news for us. But latest will be in March, when we should actually expect these things to go very well. Because the position China has taken and the other bilateral partners that we have, then there is a lot of work that they need to do. Government needs to go forward. Government needs to really look at the proposal that they have made to them that will be favorable to them for them also to accept the deal at the end of the period, so that going forward, we can attract international investors into our country, and the markets, the international monetary or capital market can also be open for us to get more loans to do the things that we want to do.
Okay.
We are in an election year, my brother. So we need to be prudent in our expenditure. We should look at winning elections at the peril of the nation, at the disadvantage of the children who are supposed to go to school. Elections, yes, we are aiming to win the election, but we want a peaceful election, but not an election where politicians will spend so much amount of money that the citizens at the end of the day will not be the ones that will be paying for it.
Well, we'll speak of an election year, and this is my final question. If you could do it in 30 seconds for me. How do you think the economy will fare this election year as the first day of January? What's your projection for the year?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for us, but then when we plan very well and we try to make sure that our expenditure is within our budget, then things will be okay. Government surely in an election year will come out with some projects, but then they should invest in projects that can pay for themselves. If we do not invest in projects that can pay for itself, but we invest in a project that will just be for consumption, then it is not going to be very good for us. If we are going for a loan to construct a road, a hospital, a market, the road, the hospital, and the market should be able to pay for itself. If they cannot pay for itself, then that is a bad investment, and we need to take a second look at them.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah Kwawu, Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, and a Happy New Year to you once again. Well, economist Professor Peter Quartey is optimistic Ghana will secure a deal with bilateral creditors before the end of next month. The International Monetary Fund has scheduled January 11 as a proposed date, a board meeting date for cash disbursement, subject to the country reaching a deal with its bilateral creditors. Professor Quartey says getting a deal will help sustain the recent gains made by the city.
And I see 2024 to be more promising, but contingent on us getting the second tranche, contingent on us getting into an agreement with external creditors. If that happens, then certainly we're likely to see some stability on the exchange rate market, and that drives inflation, drives a lot of activities on the business front. So if exchange rate is relatively stable, we are likely to see some gains. Of course, the new taxes, as you mentioned, it depends on when it becomes operational. I hear GRA says they are now setting up the system. So it might not kick off in January, maybe February or March. But as soon as it kicks in, we'll find costs going up. But if we also get stability on the exchange rate front, then the net effect might be maybe marginal increase or none at all, and inflation can be moderated. But then we have to watch the political business cycle. The last quarter of 2024 is going to be another challenging period if we don't put in the systems. In other jurisdictions, you cannot start a new project 6 months to elections. Yeah. You cannot spend beyond a certain threshold. I don't think I've seen those kinds of laws or conditions being set in our country. And it worries me. If we are not careful, the political business cycle will come and bite us again.
Well, turning to one of our top stories this afternoon, traders have indicated that they will pass on the cost of new taxes to consumers. The Ghana Revenue Authority is expected to start implementing 5 new tax bills this year. Key amongst these taxes is a value-added tax amendment bill. Speaking on Joy Business's review of 2023, President of GUTA, Joseph Obeng, said traders must find a way to recover their cost.
Don't forget that since we changed the 3% flat rate on 2021, 2022 we started having this inflation that we experienced because we were paying 3%, just 3% flat rate, and then we migrated to 22%. That alone shot up the inflation. And don't forget the straight line of 6% that is not refundable and all that, and that is also cascading. So if we are serious about tackling inflation, that's why I was saying that government should do it side by side with the governor of Bank of Ghana, that we should be able to also restructure the VAT system to help the growth of businesses. Otherwise, the cascading effect alone on the VAT is triggering.
The bit about the taxes as well, whether we like it or not, is going to kick in. If it kicks in and the cost build-up goes up, you're going to pass it on to us?
Definitely.
Interesting.
Business people are not for the Christmas, and we based everything on the cost. So the increase in prices is not as a result of increase in our profits. The increase in prices is as a result of increase in cost of doing business, from duty payment to taxes that we pay, through to the VAT that is also cascading in the market. That's what caused the high rise of prices.
Interest.
Well, so if the cost is going to be passed on to consumers, you may have to rework your budget. Or joining us with some financial management tips for the new year is Peter Kojo Asarinyako, who is Executive Director of the Center for Financial Literacy Education Africa. Good afternoon to you and Happy New Year. So with new taxes kicking in very soon, looks like we have to rework our spending plans. What should individuals prioritize? What should they cut out of the budget?
Good afternoon, Daryl. Thank you very much for this opportunity and Happy New Year to our viewers. So an increase in taxes reduces the disposable income of consumers. And so mostly people are likely to spend less. And so if your income is going to reduce, then you need to work out your budget. You need to prioritize your budget. And this is where you have to spend on your basic necessities because you won't have enough money to spend on all your desires. So here, because taxes are being increased, consumers should focus on spending on their basic necessities. When we talk about basic necessities, we are talking about your needs, what you need so your life can move on. So in 2024, ask yourself, what do you need for your life to move on? You need a place to put your head. So we can talk about shelter, we can talk about rent, we can talk about food, we can talk about transport. So consumers should focus more on spending on their basic necessities. On the other side, consumers should also focus on cutting down on luxury because these taxes, luxuries come with taxes. And so, for example, if you want to import a new vehicle, you have to pay more taxes. And so once taxes are being increased, consumers should focus more on cutting down on luxury so they can avoid some of the taxes that are being introduced. And also, I would say consumers should also focus on saving more because the more you save, the more tax you avoid. And so in this scenario, consumers should also focus on saving more.
Well, but there are some individuals who do not even have a budget or even have plans to draw a budget. So I just want you to touch on why it is important to have one and what does it entail?
Great. So talking about budgeting, budgeting is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And so budgeting is really an important aspect if you want to manage your personal finance. Budgeting is a plan to spend your money. So in 2024, because you want to take charge of your finances, because you want to avoid some of the taxes that have been introduced, because you have less disposable income, you need to put a budget together. So this is where you make an estimate of your current and future income and compare that to your expenditure. And then you make a plan for it. So budgeting helps you to set smart goals, how you are going to spend your income and where you are going to get your income from. So budgeting is an important element in one's financial planning.
Right. So does it really matter how much one earns when it comes to drawing up a budget or, trying to figure out your spending plans?
So in drawing your budget, there are three key categories that you need to look at. How you make your money, how you manage your money, and how you multiply your money. And so it is not about how much you are making, but how well you are able to manage the money you are making and how well it works for you. And so it is not mainly about the money you are earning or the money you are getting. It's about how you are managing that money and how you are putting that money to work. And so someone can be earning 50,000 Ghana cedis a month, and that person will still go into financial struggles because he is not managing the money well. And so we need to focus more on how we manage our finances and how we can put that money to work. Once you do that, I think you will be in a safer place when it comes to your finances.
Okay. Any other quick tip during these times of paying more taxes?
Okay, so in times of paying taxes, I think you need to look at tax-aware investments. So look at some of the investment that will help you cut down on taxes. You know, there are investments where you get tax deductions. And so you need to put your money to places where you'll be able to cut down on taxes. You should also look at, you need to file your tax on time to avoid penalty. Because if you fail to file your tax, GRA will come after you. And so this is the time you need to look at your taxes and when you need to file your tax so you can avoid some penalties. You also need to consider your asset allocation. So look within your assets. Where are they applying the taxes? Are you investing in that industry? Where can you channel your money so you can avoid some taxes?
Okay.
There are some industries where you avoid taxes. You can choose to avoid taxes. So look at your asset allocation. You may want to allocate your resources into new industries where you can avoid taxes. And the last one I would say is to don't let financial anxiety stop you from being intentional about your money.
All right.
Yes, taxes are coming up, but I think you need to be intentional about your financial planning and you'll be able to navigate through these hard times.
Peter Nyako is Executive Director of the Center for Financial Literacy Education Africa. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and those tips are very useful. Appreciate it. Well, before we go, interest rates fell marginally on the Treasury market as the government recorded a marginal oversubscription of Treasury bills. According to auction results, the government got 4.212 billion cedis, about 3.38% more than the targeted amount. Here's more in this report.
The rate on the 91-day bill went down by 11 basis points to 29.24%. Also, the 182-day bill eased to 31.88% from the previous 31.94%. The yield on the one-year bill also fell to 32.48% from the preceding weeks of 32.49%. Analysts were expecting a rise in T-bill yields because of the government's need for funds to support the budget. Meanwhile, the government accepted almost all the bids tendered for the auction. About 2.147 billion cedis came from the 91-day bill, representing about 50.9% of the total bids. It was followed by the one-year bill, in which 1.646 billion cedis were tendered and all were accepted. It constituted 39.07% of the total bids. The 182-day received bids worth 417.80 million cedis. About 416.33 million cedis were accepted. Overall, the uptake will partly be used to refinance estimated maturities of the 2.55 billion cedis.
And that story and in the marketplace at this New Year's Day. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. All the day's latest stories over there, myjoyonline.com/business. Enjoy your holiday.